Hello, everybody. Let's have a mystical conversation, the kind where we lose ourselves in the wonders of divine mysteries, share dreams from the other side, intuitive nudgings, and soul mission yearnings. I'm Rev Sue Frederick, a Unity minister, master numerologist, and author of several books, including Angels and Numbers, the Sacred Language of Divine Guidance. My books are all available on Amazon to help you find your purpose and receive angelic guidance along the way. Our wonderful guest today for this mystical conversation is someone I've had on my show before, and she is so phenomenally spiritually enlightening to talk to. Her name is Wendy Kennedy. She's a prominent channel and spiritual teacher, and she uses her gifts to communicate with higher dimensional beings and has done so for the past 30 years. Her work assists others in recognizing and releasing their limited patterns and beliefs so that they can create a foundation for a life that's filled with health, abundance, love, and joy. She also brings in wisdom from her guides and uses the language of light and galactic light codes to help others align with higher frequencies. Wendy lectures and channels throughout the United States and internationally. She was one of the 6 channels featured in the movie and book called Tuning In, Spirit Channelers in America, and she is a featured guest on Gaia TV series quite often in the shows such as Interview with Extra Dimensionals, Open Minds with Regina Meredith, and Into the Vortex with Jimmy Church. Her work can also be found in the book, The Great Human Potential, Walking in One's Own Light, which is now available in 7 languages. Welcome, Wendy. Okay, Wendy. So here we are again, and now we're midway through the amazing year of things changing in 2026. And I would like to start by a conversation about how the amazing other galaxy beings view God, especially the Pleiadians that you channel.
Oh, well, first off, thank you so much for having me back. It's always such a joy to connect with you. And how do the P's see God? So whenever I've asked, they say it's, the one question that they can't really answer. And part of the reason is because of our current perspective of reality. It would be like trying to explain a high level math problem to a preschooler. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So what they do say is source is all that is. It is everything. And that's how they see it, but they don't really go into more detail than that.
So, in your life and in your work, and becoming a channel, do you feel or believe that your soul originated in the Pleiades realms or other galaxies, and that that's why you had this connection to them, or how do you see that?
Well, I know I've definitely spent time in other parts of the galaxy and the universe, but I think for this particular lifetime, it was important for me to come. And there is an aspect of myself that is actually part of the Pleiadian collective. And that's why I agreed to be a messenger for them. So, I do definitely have that soul connection there
So
for sure.
you, so you came to this lifetime to bring their message, you're saying?
That was part of my contract.
I love
It's
that
part of my
so
blueprint.
much. And do you think there are a lot of others here on Earth right now that have come to bring their piece of other galaxies to the world at this moment in time?
I think everybody has. It's very rare that a soul has not been here. And even those that haven't been here, they're coming specifically to bring the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience in their energetic template of other species, other parts of the galaxy, other parts of the universe. So I think all of us have all of these aspects within us. It's just which archetypal patterns are we playing out? Oftentimes, the guides will talk about the seven major star systems with which we most closely align. So you've got the Pleiades, Arcturus, Sirius, Orion, Andromeda, Cassiopeia, and Lyra. So the lessons that they were working on in those systems, most of us have been to those systems and we have kind of walked the path. And by incarnating here and now and accessing those records from those systems, it gives us a slightly different vantage point to see that same issue being played out in a different way, oftentimes in a way that we're not so triggered or activated by. And by having that slightly different perspective, we can work through it in a different way. We can let go of it. So, this is why sometimes when we start having these callings, these senses of having lived in other times on the planet, been part of other civilizations, off world and on, that's why these memories are coming up. There's something within us in the now that we played out in these other places. There's a skill, gift, or ability that we're trying to bring in, or that challenge that we're trying to realign with the solution energy.
So where do angels fit into all this?
Well,
Or do they in your worldview of it all?
I think a lot of angels, what beings who were given that label, a lot of them were ETs. Yeah, but I do think there is a specific, I think there are also a specific realm of beings whose soul journey is to guide us, to be our support system on the other side, because we knew when we incarnated that we were going to forget everything and we were going to need a little extra help. So I do think that we have that support. The guides have always talked about us having, all of us, at least two guides that are with us. Usually one will present as male, one will present as female to help us create that dualistic balance. Doesn't mean that's really how they are. Many times in the higher realms, they don't align with a gender, but they'll take on that persona to help us to create that balance within ourselves.
And so when I talk about the angelic realms helping us, you're saying that some of those can also be other galaxy beings who are in the angelic realms?
I think sometimes what we think of as angels can sometimes also be just ETs. I
Mm.
think it's not always the case, but there are other dimensional beings.
Mhm.
Usually those are, well, what I'm hearing right now, they're telling me it's 10th dimensional. A lot of 10th dimensional beings will be our guides and go under that header of an angel.
I love that. And so when we talk about the shift happening on Earth and everyone's kind of expecting, okay, does that mean we finally get to in person have these extraterrestrials, other galaxy beings being here on Earth with us? How do you see all of that?
They say it's coming. They said that, for years they were talking about 2026 and the summer of 2026 being a potential for disclosure. And we're seeing that. It may not be in the way that most of us would like to have it in terms of that face to face contact, but this is the first way that they make contact and prepare us because we are carrying still a surprising amount of fear within our field, and those that are a bit more beneficent want to make sure that their presence isn't going to cause us any harm, isn't going to send us in the opposite direction of where we want to go. It's not going to generate a lot of fear. They want us to work through that first. They want us to stand in our own power before they show up because they don't want us to put them on a pedestal.
Mm.
So that's why there's so many more people who are channeling now, bringing through information, preparing us. That's really the first way that they connect with us. And then that kind of seeps down and then they start showing up more and more in the physical. And then we get ready for physical contact, which may be within the next several years. So they haven't
Gosh,
given me an
all of us
exact
are
date.
tired of waiting. It seems like the deadline is pushed back again and again, like, oh, the next couple of years. Okay.
Well, what the guides say about that is that, that's for the collective.
Mm, mhm.
That's That's the date for the collective. So if you want that now, you want to start creating those experiences, then you have to start making those shifts within yourself to put yourself in alignment, to be in a space to be prepared and ask for that. You don't have to wait till the collective is ready to have your own kind of physical experience.
Mm.
So they always like to remind us of that, when they talk about that, they're talking about that at the collective level, not necessarily at the personal level.
So, do you think movies like Disclosure Day are on purpose part of this movement to take away our fear and prepare us?
I think so. I think we've seen both sides of that. There have been movies that are trying to generate more fear,
Right.
they're just here to destroy us. And then there are other movies that present ETs in a much more beneficent light. So I think it is part of kind of the rollout of the information to try to prepare us for that.
And Wendy, are all the ETs beneficent? Are they all functioning to help humanity, or how do you view that?
No, they are not. So just like with humans, some are a little lighter, some are a little darker. Some of them have the interest of the whole in mind. Some it's all about personal gain. And they say in the higher realms, it's the same. So there are some that are a little more interested in what they can get from us. Many of these beings have actually been here for a while. They've been interacting with us for a while, and that's part of free will throughout the entire universe. So they're allowed to play that out with us. And as we learn to stand in our own power, we kind of take our power back. If you think about a house of cards, it's all built on, the mass populace, the cards at the bottom, you pull those cards out and everything starts to crumble. So as we start to stand in our own light, we start to see those old systems come down. And, we're seeing that now. You,
So, do you think that the beneficent ones, like the peas, will bring in a new era, or is it already happening, or has it been suppressed? A new era of healing. In other words, light therapy, vibration therapy, all the things we know are really the best healing modalities that have been kind of suppressed. But now it seems that those are becoming more common language. Red light therapy seems to be everywhere now. Do you see those as modalities from the other galaxies, or how do you see healing that way?
well, they're really clear about, it's not so much that they're bringing it, it's that we're remembering it. And as they show up, it's kind of reinforcing what's kind of been happening in on the fringe. There are those of us who've been working with healing and alternative healing methods for a long time. And, these have been used on the planet before. They've been used in other star systems. We're making all these new technologies that, we're remembering oftentimes, and we feel inspired to recreate it. And when they show up talking about these things, again, that's for the masses. It's the masses will shift that mindset, and we'll already have a lot of that in place. We're already working on it. So it's not going to be that foreign, and it's not necessarily the ETs who are leading the charge on that
That's interesting. That's interesting
that help us to
because,
heal.
oh, I lost you for a second. I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say that's so interesting because when you talk about us remembering these, that makes me feel better that we don't have to wait for them to arrive on the planet visibly to get all of this information, that it's in us, in our DNA, and that we're waking up to it, correct?
It is. And, they also talk about our internal technology because all of that external technology is just a reflection of what we already carry within us.
Mhm.
So as we learn to shift our own energetic field, as we shift the thoughts we're holding, the emotions that we're holding on to, as we learn to regulate that, that's what actually changes the physical structure because um, it's determined the physical structure by the energetic state that we hold. We already understand this from epigenetics. So really the true happening The true healing happens when we start standing in our power, deciding how we want to feel, where we're vibrating at any given moment. And the guides have spent so much time trying to help people understand that.
Hmm.
It's not about seeking something outside, because a lot of times, we'll do things to heal ourselves through external means, but we won't change the energetic template. We won't change the way we're thinking. We won't change the way we're feeling. And then we'll recreate it again because we haven't learned anything.
Do you think it's possible then that these, like for example, if I'm now experiencing red light therapy and it's helping me, that that alone is just shifting my frequency, which then brings me into healing?
It can, but is it being sustained? What it can do is to create healing within you, meaning you might start having stuff come up, emotional stuff come up. Are you dealing with that emotional stuff? You might have an awareness in that moment of another way of thinking. And do you start exploring that, or do you go back to the old program of limitation? So we can do things that are outside of us that in a moment will bring us recognition that there might be something else or something to look at. But unless you permanently shift that energetic state, it's not going to be a permanent transformation.
Yeah.
So, this is why they always talk about changing from the inside out. The outside can help us temporarily so that we can elevate ourselves, we can feel better. A lot of times we're just not feeling well enough to do anything. We can't think straight, but it'll get us up enough so that we can make those energetic changes. But you have to make the energetic changes.
I love that. Also, the question everybody is talking about is, did the ETs bring us to Earth? Are they in our DNA? Did they put us here?
Yes, so they say there are five seed races, and the Pleiadians are one of those. But yes, this was a grand experiment. And so DNA was donated for humans, but for all life on the planet. And that's why there are so many beings who are watching and are helping and being of support. And there are many hybrid programs going on, not just with humans, but with other species on the planet. A lot of them, they say, are happening in the oceans
Oh, yeah.
with many of the aquatic species. And, these ETs are working with their stellar family, and they're able to access the DNA of those species and the energetic template from being here on Earth, and they'll learn from that. So it's not just about humans and humans' evolution, it's the evolution of the entire planet, and many species are learning from the other life forms on the planet.
So Earth is a grand experiment of many different ET races or species, whatever you would say, right? Is this the
Yes.
first time that a planet has been sort of seeded by so many different beings?
No, they say this is the third grand experiment.
Ah,
So the other two didn't go so well. So this one is the biggest. There was more genetic material brought in, and the thinking behind that was that if there are more options, more variations, that we have many more pathways to create unique forms with. So think about having a set of Legos, and you only have 100 pieces, what you can build with that as opposed to 100,000. So this is the biggest grand experiment for sure.
and how do you think that experiment is going? And how do the peas think it's going?
Well, they get really excited about it. From their vantage point, they say, the ascension journey, it's kind of a fait accompli. It's done. They're just waiting to see how we roll it out. So this version of us that they connect with, that trajectory of that energy is one where we've already gone through the ascension process. So they're just here with us, helping us to kind of make our way through these last steps of that journey, if you will. So they're excited. They're always very positive.
So when you were just in the channel conference, that big conference that I saw everyone posting about, are all of the channelers saying this, or what was your takeaway from being with so many of these channelers?
It's amazing to be able to be in a space where there's so many people channeling, because I personally don't have the opportunity to watch a lot of other channels. So it's a special time for me, but it's amazing that the same message is being said over and over and over again in slightly different ways so that you can hear it in a slightly different way. Maybe you couldn't take it all in from one person and then somebody else says it in a different way and you say, "Oh, okay, wow. Now I get it. Now I understand."
So it's a validation
It
that you're all
is.
tapped into the same truth. Yeah.
It is, and it's a lot of times it goes back to really basic stuff. And it's really about deciding where you want to vibrate, how you want to show up in the world, owning your power, using your discernment. And, this last one, because I do the channel panel event, and there's always a different theme that's usually once or twice a year. And this time it was about contact. So,
Mm.
and ironically, the day it started was also a big data dump, the first big data dump from the US government. So, for us, it's kind of like, well, yeah, we kind of know they're already here, but it's still nice sometimes to have that roll out to the collective.
Mhm.
But that was certainly a general theme, and that, we're all kind of on the same page that within the next few years, we're going to see something in a more physical way for the collective, but you can also start having your contact now.
And if, when you talk about the other experiments that didn't go so well, um, for example, we are at war with another country and there's possibility of nuclear weapons, would the ET step in and prevent that?
That's the one thing they've said will not be allowed to happen again on this planet. They want to honor free will, but we've already had that experience once.
Yes.
And the thing with nuclear weapons is that it does affect the fabric of space and time. So they allowed us to do that once. We understand the ramifications of that, and they won't allow it again. So
I tell you, that
oftentimes,
is the greatest news. I mean, I think we can recover from a lot of things here on Earth, but that one, that's the one that's, I grew up in the 50s when we were taught to hide under our school desks because of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we built fallout shelters in our backyard. So it's really comforting to me, and I think to a lot of people to know that, there's evidence that they've shut down those nuclear missile silos when we were in danger of doing this again. And they're showing us that they have control over that. And that really brings me comfort to know, that's not how we're going to destroy ourselves. So,
yeah, this game is too important.
yeah.
As we go through this ascension process, it actually impacts the entire universe
Mm.
because it's a grand experiment, because there are so many different species who have donated their genetic material as we go through the lessons. And they say the greatest gift we give is compassion. So as we learn to embody that and express that, we will do so in a way that, even for them, they can access the frequency of compassion, but it's not at the intensity level, or the bandwidth is what they say is not as extreme as it is. It's their bandwidth for that is not as extreme as what we experience because we know just how challenging the lows are. We've been there, we've done that. And so we can have a lot of compassion for others who are going through a challenging time. And that ripples out through the universe and changes the universal game.
God, I love that so much, our collective evolution throughout all galaxies together into
Yeah.
compassion, into unconditional love, all of that beautiful stuff. So, how in all of that do you define the Akashic records or the Akashic realm? What does that mean to you?
So they describe it as the records of all that was, is, and ever will be. So it's almost as if everything is being recorded.
Mhm.
And then you can find the specific frequency that you are looking for within the Akashic realm. And we're holographic in nature. So we're fractal in nature, which means if you had a mirror and an image on the mirror and you fractured that, every piece of the whole would still be seen in that tiny little sliver. And if you made a change to the whole, it would be reflected in the sliver and vice versa. So as we are having our experiences, we can make a shift in our lives and that will show up in the collective whole. So there are libraries. Our sun is the repository of information for our solar system. Alcyone in the Pleiadean star system is the central sun. It's the library for our galaxy. So information can be stored everywhere in the Akashic records. All right. They describe it as a level or layer of energy where things are recorded. So there are specific areas where there are beings who will be of service to help you find specific frequencies.
Mhm.
And they describe it kind of the same way as they describe the language of light. It's that as you experience it, it's helping you to reattune. And if there is a librarian, she's going to tell you exactly where the book is that you're looking for because she spent so much time in the library or he spent so much time in the library. And it just makes it easier to find that frequency. You've got a reference point. So there are beings that dedicate their lives, their existence to helping us to find specific records and specific frequencies. But we can still find that within ourselves. It just might be a little harder because we don't know exactly what we're looking for. But we all have the ability to go into the Akashic realm that's within each and every cell of our being. You can go into the earth. The earth has records of all life that's ever been upon her, all life that will be upon her. That's all recorded in her own energetic field. And you can go to one of these libraries if you want. You can go to any of those levels and access the Akashic realm from within.
So, are you going to be guiding people in your new 6-month class where I notice one of the topics you're teaching is accessing the Akashic realm? Are you going to be helping people do that?
Yeah. So, I was seeing so many people struggling because they kept asking questions that really, getting the answer to the question wasn't going to change your life. Or they had access to information, but they weren't necessarily applying it. So I asked the guides to give me a lecture series that would help people with their challenges. And so they laid it out. So once a month for 6 months, there's a new lecture that's going to help them. And that is one of them. I think that's month 4,
Yeah.
where we're looking at the Akashic realm. So we can go in and access our own records if there's something that we want to know about. Like I said, we have a lot of curiosities or things that we're curious about. What happened in this star system or that star system? Those are nice things to know, but unless you can apply it to what's going on in your life, it doesn't really have a lot of value. So that's part of what they're helping us to understand and teaching us to ask the right questions. What's coming up for me? What might have happened in another part of the galaxy, or what's in the Akashic field that would aid me in understanding this issue that's showing up in my life? So yes, so the guides will guide people. I think for that one, we're probably going to do a little meditation as part of the lecture to help people to ask questions and to access the Akashic field to get the answers that they're looking for.
So I'm so fascinated by that because, I'll have people come to me, students and clients, and they'll say, the reason I can't fall in love is because in another lifetime, blah, blah, blah happened, etc. But it's almost like they're using it as an excuse, right?
It
So
is.
I think what you're saying is the only reason the other stuff is important to us is if we're using it to make a big change in this life. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Or we've reactivated that energy in this life. So it's part of our blueprint. So maybe in this lifetime, you've struggled with money
Mhm.
and you might have a familial belief where if you have money, you can't be a good person. And in your hierarchy of needs, it's more important to be a good person than it is to have money. So maybe in another lifetime, you worked on that issue, or you played that out about being a really good person and having money, and it was an example for that. So you wanted to bring that knowledge, that wisdom, that skill of having that awareness. And so you might go into your Akashic records and see that lifetime and see, oh, well, you can be a good person and have money. And that will help you to rewrite that issue. Or it might be something that you play out. It's the same energy. It's not the opposite energy. Maybe you were a thief in another lifetime and you stole bread because you needed to eat and you didn't have any money. So it's a mirror for the same energy that you play out here and now. It might look vastly different on the surface, but it's the same energy. And when we access those records, it's either to show us the same issue that we're playing out, either from either polarity and overexpression of energy or suppression of energy, or there's a skill, gift, or ability that we want to bring back online in this lifetime.
So are we all evolving all the time, Wendy, or is it sometimes souls are here that are just not going anywhere? Like, how do you see that?
I think every experience helps us to evolve. It's just, some of us might take a little longer to see it. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I think we set up a lot of judgment about that. We think things have to unfold in a specific way at a specific pace. And it's really accepting that there are lots of ways to explore and create reality and honoring everybody's method. And the guides will talk about this as well. That perspective will free you. And, because when we set up that judgment, that's also judging our own energy and our own ability to express our full light. We think we have to shape it or form it or control it in some way. And when we project that onto other people, it's just showing us that we're running that within ourselves.
I love that one of the things you said the last time I talked to you was that the God source lives in every action, every good or bad behavior, the light and the dark. I mean, this is a spiritual principle that in my most important part of myself I know is true. And yet my human self will slip out of that and go, well, I'm going to judge that group of people over there, Do you feel that what we're trying to learn collectively right now in these times of turmoil is that judgment has never gotten us anywhere and maybe we better try it a different way?
Yeah. And I see that even within our own community.
Mm.
There are people who it's like the light has to win, the light has to prevail. And it's like, well, this light versus dark has been going on for thousands of years, and it's a level of consciousness. You're not going to go any higher than that. It keeps you trapped. So where we're headed, we have to elevate above that and understand that it's about an internal energy that we carry. And the way that we increase is by releasing judgment and allowing all things to
Beautiful.
exist as they are. It doesn't mean that we have to lend our energy to it. But when we judge something, we want to make it separate from ourselves. And that thing is part of source energy. And so we're trying, in essence, to cut off half of source energy. So the universe, part of the game, part of the construct, it wants to help us see the totality of all things, bring us back into this perception of oneness. So all things are designed and orchestrated to be a reflection to show us how we're out of alignment with that oneness.
I love this so much. So this is what you're going to be doing for 6 months in your courses?
Yeah, so the first month we're going to be talking about forging a new path within yourself. Really, what is it that you want to create and starting to embody some of your power. And then we're moving on to the rise where we're talking about not only the increase in our frequency, but as we increase in frequency, we start to remember some of those higher civilizations and those arise to our consciousness. So we're going to talk about those, and then we're moving into the divine feminine and learning to balance, learning to activate our intuition, and then we're into the Akashic records in month 4. Month 5, we are discovering our life path. I think a lot of us feel a little lost. How do we know what our life path is? And then our final 6 month, we're looking at the activation of our luminous light body. So we're activating those higher levels of our energetic field.
What I love about it is you've stretched it out over 6 months and it's once a month, because people will kind of marinate in the experience for a month and then they go to the next level. I might take that idea in one of my future classes because I've been doing them a week apart, you know. And I think there's a lot to be said for really giving people a whole 6 month or longer chunk of time to really absorb and process and then come back and question you about things so that they can really learn it. That's just very incredibly brilliant, Wendy.
Well, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's not me. Because I sat down and I asked the guys, I said, what do you want to talk about? And they gave me the exact titles over 6 months. And I said, okay, here we go. And, I wanted to make it available to people so you can work with it either as a complete package if you want. And we do have a special before July 25th. It's 25% off if you buy the complete package, or you can just buy it as one-offs whenever you're ready to dive into the material. Each lecture stands alone if you are interested in a specific topic, but I do think there's a build that will probably happen. But if you can't make a live date, they're going to be recorded. They're going to live in our store. But I feel like this is a really big one. It's a really important time right now that we're in. We're in a window of time where transformation is happening at an accelerated pace, and having an understanding of the universal principles and understanding how you can apply them to your life will help you move through this stage in a much easier, faster way.
I agree. I've got classes going on too because of that exact same idea that this is the time that we have to really all shift up. So, where do people go to register for your class or to learn more about it?
There's more over on our website at higherfrequencies.net, and I think we may have a special link for you. So people can also use the link there.
Okay. Are you going to put that in chat or are you going to give me that and I'll
I'll
post it
give
with
that to
this
you.
video? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
so you can post it with the video there.
All right. And then also, I would love it if we could close out with a quick channel from the P's, and I would love it if they would really talk to our collective about how we can assist in these times.
Sure. So let me get out of the way and we'll see where we go. Ah, yes. Hello, dears. This is the ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective, and it is a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to connect with you. So, as Wendy mentioned, we're very excited about this time that you're in. From our vantage point, it is well, we'll call it a robust time in that you are learning and growing and trying so many different things that, say, 20, 30 years ago, you might have tried one or two things. Now you're trying one or two things a week as opposed to one or two things a year. So it's a very accelerated time where you're exploring frequencies, you're recognizing your patterns, you're letting go of things that you feel no longer serve, you're questioning things in a deeper way than perhaps you have before. And we're very excited about it. It's ripe with potential. The challenge comes for you all in letting go of the old stories of what you think is possible and beginning to embrace those frequencies that you would like to see manifest. And part of what we would ask you to do, which might seem a little foreign to some of you who learned about manifestation, we ask you not to focus on the form, but rather the frequency that you like the form to contain. Because you're moving into a time where you're creating things that you do not currently have references for. You don't have a visual image for the new systems that you're going to create. They're going to look vastly new, vastly different. They're going to be completely new. So if you keep trying to go to the old box with the old image and imagine the things that you want to create looking like the old stuff, you're going to get the old stuff. And that worked for you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, but you're going to find it harder as you move forward to manifest if you become attached to the visual. If you keep obsessing and looking at the visual, you can imagine something visually, but don't be attached to it. You can say, "Ooh, wouldn't it be interesting over here?" But I'm open to bigger and better. But you know that that thing that you're asking for has a particular quality about it. Maybe it's got a sense of peace, joy, connection, love, expansion, freedom, whatever it is that you want to create. And as you start to embody those frequencies within yourself, you will start to see them manifest back to you. The most important thing in your reality is what is showing up in the now moment, even if that's a challenge, because the challenge shows you one of two things. It shows you either that you are holding an energy that no longer serves you, all right, and that there is a higher expression of that energy, or it shows you that perhaps you have hit a ceiling. There's only so far that you can go until you release the limitation that you've placed upon yourself. So every moment shows you how you are expressing your divine light. And in those moments, you're usually in flow. You don't stop to think about things, or suppressing your divine light. And that happens through the judgment. That's when things don't flow. Oftentimes, you'll ask for something that's of a very high vibrational nature. And you think, well, it's not showing up. Where is this thing I'm asking for? All I'm getting are these challenges. Pay attention to the challenges, because that's what you need to release in order to elevate yourself to be in vibrational alignment with that high vibrational thing that you've asked for. All right? So we want you to start trusting in yourselves. That's the other thing. That's the other pattern that we're seeing with you all, is that you will say, "Please, I think this is going on with me, and I think it's this issue and that issue." And we'll say, "Well, yes, well, if you think it's that issue, then it is so." So you don't need us to confirm it. You just need to trust in yourself. And then what needs to shift in your perception? What actions do you need to take to put you in alignment with a higher vibrational expression? You don't need external validation. Start listening to yourselves and start making those course corrections within yourselves, because it is through these actions that you will begin to learn to trust that quiet inner voice, if you will, that intuitive hit that you get. And the more action you take, the more confidence you have. When you get the reinforcement, that makes you take more action. You get the reinforcement, and so it goes. It builds for you until you begin to simply trust every time you have that vibrational sensation within you, that intuitive awareness, you take action on it. So try not to look too much outside of yourselves. You can periodically, but we want you first and foremost to start working within yourself and trusting you. All right?
That's the greatest message we could ever get. Trusting our own higher wisdom. Thank you.
Yes, well, this is also what prepares you for contact, and what Wendy was talking about. Because we don't want you to put us on a pedestal. We want you to stand beside us. And the way that you do that is by standing in your power. You can take the information that we may have to share with you, but you then put it through your own process of discernment. It's like getting advice from a friend. Some friends give great advice, others not so much. So you've got to take it with a grain of salt. Does this resonate with me? Is this something that I am in alignment with? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And so you're going to have to do that.
Such good advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if we may, we'd like to do a language of light activation for you, just to help you with self-confidence.
Thank you.
All right. So everyone, if you're not familiar with the language of light, it is source language. It is comprised of light, sound, sacred geometry, and cosmic information. There are many beings who are blending their energy together to bring in the transmission, these galactic beings who are sharing their how-to manuals, how to let go of judgment, how to stand in certain frequencies, such as self-confidence. And it's not important for you to know that. But what it does is it helps provide you with a reference point so you can attune your own energetic field to that specific resonance. So, nothing you need to know or do, just take a nice deep breath.
Ishikoto or Berbijukata in that are Ibijukuta at the Buri Berbijukata Patakata in the day it is or Berbijukata Patakata eta that are biji Berbijukata Patakata and that the Ida de do that the Berbijukata Patakata has the or Berbijucati in the data are Berbijucata Berbijucata in the diseases or Berbijucata it the Amana de so to or Berbijucata at the day in Berbijucata Patakata Hai Shishimanakata Hita are Berbijucata Handa are the in Berbijucata azo dodo or Berbijucata Patakata Hasasa are Berbijucata Berbijucati in the ar Berbijucata Patakata at the arkta.
Take another nice deep breath. So we'll leave you here, dear ones. You can always connect with us directly. You don't need Wendy. Just ground yourself, connect to the earth. You can use your imagination or get yourself outside. Heart center yourself. Think of something that makes you smile. Ask your question and listen. And until we hear from you, we are around, we're watching, we're waiting, and we're sending many, many well wishes.
All right, Wendy, that was great. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, take Wendy's next course. It starts when, Wendy?
The first lecture begins July 25th. If you're interested in the complete package at a discount, that ends on the 25th. After that, you'll be able to buy the individual courses as they roll out.
Perfect. And this is Wendy Kennedy, the amazing channel for the P's and light language. And thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
your wisdom with us. Many blessings.